I want to speak directly to your heart, not to the part of you that is afraid, clinging, or hurting, but to the part that knows, deeply knows, that you are ready for peace. You are ready for healing. You are ready for a life that flows with love, abundance, and grace. And that begins with one powerful choice. Holding on is a form of fear. It's something we all do. Sometimes without even realizing it, we hold on to people, to pain, to old stories, to limiting beliefs, to what once was, or what we hoped would be. We clutch it tightly as if our survival depends on it, but in truth, it's not love or faith that fuels our grip. It's fear. Fear of change, fear of loss, fear of the unknown, and most of all, fear that we are not enough without the very thing we refuse to release. We tell ourselves that holding on shows strength, that it proves our loyalty or our love or our commitment. But more often than not, it is simply our inability to trust that letting go won't break us, that life won't crumble if we open our hands and allow what no longer serves us to fall away. Deep inside, we fear that if we let go of the relationship, the job, the past, we will be left empty, abandoned, or forgotten. So we grip harder. But that tightness doesn't protect us, it suffocates us. Fear tricks us into believing that letting go means losing control. It tells us that if we don't fight for it, we'll never have anything better. It whispers lies that we'll never be loved again, never be happy again, never be whole again. So we settle. We stay in places that hurt us. We stay in identities that shrink us. We replay old wounds in our minds and carry the weight of unresolved stories in our hearts. And all the while, life is waiting for us to loosen our grip so it can give us something new. The truth is, fear is always trying to protect us, but it does so by keeping us small. It clings to the familiar, even if the familiar is painful, because the unknown, even when it holds joy, feels too risky. But healing and growth require risk. They require faith. They require us to stand in the discomfort of release and say, I don't know what comes next, but I trust myself to face it. When we hold on out of fear, we also block the natural flow of life. Energy is meant to move. Emotions are meant to pass. Seasons are meant to change. And we are meant to evolve. But fear turns us into prisoners of the past. We become stuck in cycles that repeat, not because we're cursed or doomed, but because we refuse to let go of what no longer fits who we are becoming. We hold on to pain thinking it will protect us from future pain. We say, I'll never forget what they did, as if remembering it every day will shield us from being hurt again, but all it does is keep the wound open. We hold on to guilt and shame, convinced we don't deserve to move forward. We punish ourselves with our own memories long after the world has moved on. And in doing so, we deny ourselves the grace of healing. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring. It doesn't mean we forget. It means we choose peace over chaos. It means we choose freedom over fear. Letting go is an act of love, not weakness. It is the declaration that we believe in a life beyond what hurt us. It's the moment we trust that something greater is on the way, even if we can't see it yet. Sometimes the hardest part is not the pain itself, but our resistance to releasing it. We say we want peace, but we replay the past over and over in our minds. We say we want love, but we refuse to let go of the person who's not given it to us. We say we want abundance, but we keep holding on to the scarcity mindset that tells us there's not enough. We block our own blessings by clinging to what feels familiar, even when that familiarity is rooted in fear. But the moment we decide to release, truly release, we create space. Space for new energy, space for healing, space for miracles. It may feel scary, it may feel like loss, but In truth, it is the greatest act of self-respect. It is you saying, I trust myself. I trust life. I trust that what is meant for me will not require me to suffer for it. Letting go is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice. It is choosing each day to soften your grip, to breathe deeply, to remind yourself that your value is not tied to what you've been through or what you've held on to. You are not defined by what you lost. You are defined by what you're willing to open yourself to. So if something feels heavy, if something feels tight, if your heart is begging for peace, listen, the fear may be loud, but your soul knows the truth. Let go. Not because you're weak, but because you're ready. Because your healing, your joy, your next chapter, everything you want is waiting on the other side of that release. Letting go is not giving up. It's choosing yourself. It's one of the most misunderstood decisions a person can make. Because we live in a world that often romanticizes struggle and glorifies endurance. We are taught that if something matters, we must fight for it endlessly. We are told that walking away is failure, that releasing someone or something means we didn't try hard enough or love deeply enough. But in reality, letting go is one of the bravest, most loving things you can do. Not just for your peace, but for your soul. When you let go, you're not abandoning the dream, you're not erasing the past, you're not denying the value of what was. What you are doing is honoring the truth that not everything is meant to stay, and not everyone is meant to continue the journey with you. You're recognizing that holding on to something out of fear, guilt, or habit is not the same as holding on with love, purpose, or joy. There is a sacred difference between loyalty and self-abandonment. And when you choose to let go, you're not quitting, you're awakening. You are awakening to the deep truth that your time, your energy, and your heart are sacred. You are choosing to stop pouring into what no longer pours back. You are choosing to stop feeding something that leaves you starving. Letting go means realizing that no matter how much you love someone, you cannot make them choose you, respect you, or grow with you. And you stop trying to convince them. You stop waiting for them to change. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never designed to honor your light. It's an act of reclaiming your power. Because every time you hold on to what's not aligned, you dim a part of your spirit. You silence the voice inside that knows you deserve more, and you begin to lose yourself in the hope that something outside of you will validate your worth. But the truth is, your worth is not up for debate. You were always enough. You were always worthy. And letting go is how you begin to live like you believe it. There are moments in life where the bravest thing you can do is stop trying to fix what keeps breaking you. You can love someone and still walk away. You can forgive them and still choose distance. You can grieve the loss and still celebrate your own survival. Because letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you finally cared enough about yourself to stop living in a story that hurt to hold. We think letting go means losing something important, but often it's the only way we find what truly matters. When your hands are full of pain, you have no room for peace. When your heart is tangled in the past, you cannot open fully to the present. And when your mind is trapped in what should have been, you miss the beauty of what could be. Choosing yourself means listening to your own needs even when others don't understand. It means honoring your emotional well-being above the illusion of being the bigger person. It means knowing that your inner peace is not a sacrifice you have to make in order to keep someone else comfortable. And it means refusing to stay stuck in cycles of chasing, fixing, or proving. You deserve relationships that nourish you, not drain you. You deserve a life that feels expansive, not one that constantly makes you question your worth. You deserve to wake up with hope in your heart, not dread in your chest. Letting go is how you begin to make room for that kind of life. It's how you tell the universe, I'm ready for more. I trust that what's meant for me will meet me when I no longer settle for less. There is no weakness in choosing yourself. There is no shame in walking away from what doesn't feel right anymore. It is a quiet revolution, a sacred turning point, the moment you rise up and say, I am enough. I have always been enough, and I will no longer carry what was never mine to hold. Letting go is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one where you come home to yourself, one where you live not from fear or attachment, but from love and freedom, one where you stop waiting for someone else to choose you and instead you choose you. Fully, completely, unapologetically. And in that choice, everything changes. The weight lifts, the clarity comes, the healing begins, because you finally understand you didn't lose anything by letting go. You gained yourself. The healing begins in the surrender, not in the struggle, not in the control, and not in the overthinking, but in the quiet, sacred moment when you finally stop resisting what is. When you stop fighting life, stop fighting your past, and stop fighting yourself, you create the space for healing to enter. It is in that deep breath, the one where you let go of needing to know, needing to fix, needing to figure it all out, that your heart softens and your soul whispers, now we can begin. So often we believe that healing comes from doing more, that if we read one more book, recite one more affirmation, have one more conversation, we'll finally be whole. But true healing isn't something we chase. It's something we allow. It's not a race or a checklist. It's a process of letting go, of making peace with what we cannot change, and of trusting the unseen currents of life to carry us where we are meant to go. It is in surrender that we find safety, not because everything becomes perfect, but because we stop needing it to be. Surrender does not mean weakness. It's not about giving up. It's about giving in. To love, to life, to the wisdom of your own soul. When we surrender, we stop trying to force outcomes. We release the illusion of control and begin to dance with the present moment. We accept that we may not have all the answers, and that's okay. We may not know how everything will unfold, but we trust that we are held by something greater than ourselves. Healing cannot bloom in resistance. Pain thrives in the places we refuse to look. It lingers in the tight spaces of our expectations, our attachments, our need to be right. We often hold on so tightly to old wounds, old identities, or old stories because we believe they protect us. But that grip keeps us closed, keeps us guarded, and keeps us from receiving the healing energy that is always available to us. There comes a time when the weight becomes too heavy and we realize that our attempts to control everything are only exhausting us. That moment when we drop to our knees in surrender is not the end, it is the beginning. Because in surrender you stop trying to be strong and allow yourself to be supported. You stop pretending to be fine and give yourself permission to feel. And feeling is where the healing lives. To surrender is to trust. Trust that the path ahead is unfolding exactly as it needs to. Trust that what has fallen away was never meant to stay. Trust that the pain is not punishment but a doorway. Trust that even in your most broken moments, you are being guided. When you surrender, you stop living in the past or fearing the future and come back to now. And now is where healing happens. It may not look the way you expected. It may not arrive all at once. Sometimes healing shows up in the smallest ways, in a quiet morning when your heart doesn't ache as much, in a conversation that brings peace, in the sudden realization that you no longer feel triggered by something that once controlled you. These are the silent victories of surrender, the subtle shifts that build a foundation of inner peace. There is a soft strength in surrender. It's the strength to release without bitterness, to let go without blame, to rest without guilt. It's the strength to say, I don't know what's next, but I know I don't have to carry this anymore. That's where healing breathes. In the stillness that follows release, in the openness that comes after loosening your grip, in the love you finally allow to find you when you're no longer pushing it away. Healing begins when we stop needing the pain to make sense, when we stop asking why and start saying yes to the mystery. Life isn't always fair, and people won't always understand your journey, but your peace does not depend on their validation. Your healing doesn't need permission from anyone. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to soften. You are allowed to heal. So if you're tired of carrying it all, let go. Not because you failed, but because you're ready to feel light again. You're ready to return to yourself. Let the tears come if they must. Let the silence speak. Let your body exhale the years of holding on, because in that sacred surrender, you will remember who you are, whole, worthy, and deeply loved. You don't have to force your way forward. Just open your heart, open your hands, and let life meet you where you are. The healing has already begun. Everything you want is already waiting for you, not somewhere far away, not hidden behind someone else's permission, not locked away in a future you have to chase. It exists right now in the invisible field of potential, in the vibration of your thoughts, in the quiet knowing that lives within your heart. You don't have to earn your worth to receive it. You don't have to prove your value to be worthy of it. You simply have to align with it, trust it, and become willing to receive it. The greatest misunderstanding is that your desires are separate from you, that they live outside of your reach, that you must chase, beg, strive, or suffer before you're allowed to have the love, the abundance, the healing, or the joy you long for. But the truth is, your desires are divine seeds planted within you for a reason. They are whispers from the universe, showing you what is already yours on a soul level. You were never meant to chase your desires. You were meant to become the version of you who allows them in. Everything you want exists in a higher vibration, a frequency of peace, trust, and inner alignment. When you live in worry, fear, or desperation, you are simply vibrating on a channel that can't receive what's meant for you. But the moment you shift inward, the moment you decide to believe instead of doubt, to trust instead of question, to relax instead of control, that's when you open the channel. That's when what you want starts to find its way to you, effortlessly. This doesn't mean you don't take action. It means your action comes from alignment, not anxiety. It means you speak from confidence, not desperation. It means you move with peace, not panic, because you understand that the most magnetic thing you can do is trust. To believe that if you've been given the vision, the path already exists. You may not see it clearly yet, but life is unfolding in your favor. The people, opportunities, and answers are already in motion, waiting for you to match them in faith. So many people live in a constant state of waiting. Waiting for the perfect timing, waiting for the right person, waiting for the world to change. But the universe isn't waiting, it's responding. Responding to your energy, your beliefs, your decisions. If you believe that you are worthy of love, life mirrors that belief. If you believe that money flows easily to you, it begins to appear in ways you didn't expect. If you believe that healing is possible, your body and mind start to respond with harmony. Everything you want is not just waiting for you. It is attracted to you when you stop resisting it, when you stop telling stories of lack, when you stop replaying memories of rejection, when you stop saying, maybe it's not for me, and start saying, of course it's mine. When you affirm your power instead of your problems, the energy around you shifts, doors open, people show up. And suddenly, what once felt distant begins to feel inevitable. You don't have to beg life for blessings. You are the blessing. You don't have to prove yourself to deserve what you want. Your existence is proof enough. What you long for longs for you. And the moment you remember who you really are, an infinite soul with divine power, you stop chasing and start receiving. Sometimes, the only reason we haven't received what we want is because we're holding on too tightly to how and when it should arrive. We box the universe in with our expectations, never realizing that it wants to give us more than we imagined. But it can only do so when we release control, when we make space, when we say, I trust, I allow, I am ready. Readiness is not about having all the answers. It's about having an open heart, a calm mind, a willing spirit. It's about believing even when the evidence hasn't shown up yet. That is faith. That is alignment. That is the doorway to everything you've ever wanted. There is no need to force. There is no need to chase. Breathe. Relax. The more peaceful you become, the clearer your path will be. The more you love yourself, the more love will surround you. The more you affirm abundance, the more abundant your life will become. It's not magic, it's energy. And you are the one who gets to choose how that energy flows. So remember this. You are not behind, you are not too late, you are not broken. You are simply unfolding. And everything you want, the joy, the love, the freedom, the success, is not a future fantasy. It is a present reality waiting for your permission to arrive. Give yourself that permission today. You are ready, you are worthy, you are already enough. Forgiveness is the key to letting go. Without it, we remain bound, tied to the very people, memories, and emotions we long to be free from. Forgiveness is not about approving what happened or excusing the hurt. It is not about pretending it didn't matter. Forgiveness is about choosing freedom over bondage, peace over pain, and healing over resentment. It is the gentle but powerful act of saying, I will not let this continue to live inside me. When we are hurt, we often hold on to the story like armor. We carry it in our minds, repeat it in our conversations, and bury it deep within our hearts. But holding on to that pain only ensures we live it over and over again. The wound may have occurred once, but every time we replay it, we open it. We think that holding on to anger protects us from getting hurt again. But what it really does is block our joy, our love, and our ability to move forward. Forgiveness is how we release the energy of the past from our present. It is not a single moment, but a process, a decision made again and again until peace replaces pain. It begins with the willingness to release, the willingness to say, I don't want to carry this anymore, because the longer we carry the bitterness, the heavier our lives become. We may be waiting for an apology, for justice, for the other person to change or understand, but sometimes that never happens. Sometimes closure doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. To forgive is to recognize that we cannot change what has been done, but we can choose how we allow it to live inside us. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, it changes you. It allows you to reclaim the power that was lost in the pain. It allows you to stop defining yourself by what happened and begin defining yourself by how you rise, It is also important to understand that forgiveness is not only for others, it's for ourselves. So often we are the ones we need to forgive the most. We hold on to guilt for choices we made, for times we stayed too long, for things we didn't say or do. We carry shame like a second skin, thinking if we punish ourselves long enough, we'll somehow earn redemption. But guilt is not healing. Shame is not growth. True transformation begins when we say, I did the best I could with what I knew then, and now I choose to release myself. We all make mistakes. We all have chapters we wish we could rewrite. But healing isn't about perfection. It's about permission. Permission to be human. Permission to grow. Permission to stop punishing ourselves for who we were when we didn't yet know who we could become. When you forgive yourself, you give yourself the gift of presence. You say, I no longer live in that moment. I live here, now, in love. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. It doesn't require that the person remain in your life. It doesn't mean trusting them again or continuing the relationship. Sometimes the most loving act is letting go completely. Without resentment, without bitterness, just the quiet knowing that you're no longer tied to their energy. You're free. And sometimes the hardest person to forgive is the one who never said sorry. The one who caused pain and walked away as if nothing happened. But waiting for an apology is giving your healing to someone else. Forgiveness is taking it back. It's saying, I may never hear the words I deserved, but I still choose to heal. Because your peace matters more than their apology. Your future deserves more than your past can give. Forgiveness is a spiritual practice. It's an act of courage. It's an affirmation that says, I refuse to let this define me. I am more than what happened to me. I am more than the pain I endured. I am light. I am love. I am free. And when you truly forgive, you open the door to miracles. You raise your vibration. You release blocks. You make room for joy, connection, and the very things you've been calling into your life. Letting go is only possible through forgiveness. You can't release what you still resent. You can't heal what you haven't faced. And you can't move forward while dragging chains from the past. But the moment you say, I choose peace over pain, the moment you allow yourself to soften, the healing begins. You'll feel lighter, you'll feel clearer, and you'll realize that forgiveness wasn't something you did for them. It was something you did for you. So if your heart is tired, if your mind is spinning, if you're longing for freedom, begin here. Begin with forgiveness, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Because your peace is worth more than the pain, because your joy is waiting, because your life, your true life, begins the moment you decide to let go. And forgiveness is the key. Trust the divine timing of your life. It's one of the most powerful decisions you can ever make, to release the need to rush, to control, to force, and instead align yourself with the quiet rhythm of the universe. In a world that demands instant results and immediate answers, trusting in divine timing may feel uncomfortable, even rebellious. But it is in that sacred trust where your true peace lives. There is a perfect order to your life, even when it feels chaotic. There is a plan unfolding, even when you can't see it yet. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you are meant to be for your soul's growth, your healing, and your evolution. Every experience, every delay, every detour has been preparing you for something greater than you imagined. Sometimes we want something so badly that we cling to it with all our energy. We try to manifest faster, to make it happen now, to bend the timeline to our will. But forcing the timing of your life is like pulling on a flower to make it bloom. It only creates tension, struggle, and disappointment. The universe operates on divine intelligence, and that intelligence is always working in your favor, just not always on your schedule. What you desire is on its way. but it will arrive when your energy, your mindset, your environment, and your soul are ready to receive it. The universe is not holding it back to punish you. It's protecting you. It's aligning the people, the lessons, the circumstances, and the opportunities to meet you at exactly the right moment. Not too early, not too late, right on time. Think about all the times in your life when something didn't work out and you were heartbroken. You may have cried, questioned, begged for answers, and yet months or years later, you could look back and see clearly it wasn't meant to be. Or more beautifully, something better came along. That is divine timing in action. What once felt like rejection was actually redirection. What once felt like loss was making space for something sacred. Trusting divine timing means letting go of the need to know how and when. It means surrendering your timeline and opening your heart to possibility. It's about shifting your focus from impatience to presence, from lack to gratitude, from fear to faith. You don't have to figure everything out today. You just have to take the next right step and let the rest unfold. There is no delay in the divine plan. The delay you feel is often the time needed for your soul to expand, your heart to heal, your energy to shift. Sometimes the pause is your protection. Sometimes the wait is the womb from which your new life will be born. When you trust divine timing, you stop comparing your journey to others. You stop asking, why not me? And start affirming, when it's my time, it will not pass me by. This kind of trust isn't passive, it's powerful. It's not about doing nothing. It's about doing what's in front of you with love, with intention, and with faith. It's about preparing yourself inwardly for what you've asked for outwardly. It's about becoming the version of you who is aligned with the vision you're holding. Because your desire is not separate from your destiny. It's an invitation to grow into your highest self. The caterpillar does not rush its transformation. It surrenders to the dark cocoon, not knowing what's next. And in that surrender, it becomes something entirely new. Trust that your cocoon moments are sacred. The quiet times, the slow seasons, the waiting periods, they are not empty. They are full of unseen grace. Healing is happening. Answers are forming. Energy is shifting. You are being shaped in ways you cannot yet comprehend. When doubt arises, and it will, remind yourself, nothing real will ever miss you. What is meant for you is already seeking you. But it cannot meet you in a state of fear, desperation, or control. It meets you when you are calm, clear, and open. When you believe in your worth. When you affirm that the universe knows the way, even when you do not. So breathe, soften, trust. You are not being punished. You are being guided. And even in moments of uncertainty, you can choose to believe that something beautiful is unfolding beneath the surface. You may not see it yet, but the roots are growing. The alignment is forming. The timing is preparing. Your only job is to stay faithful. Keep showing up for yourself. Keep choosing peace over panic. Keep loving the life in front of you. Because one day, perhaps, when you least expect it, everything will come together in a way that makes you smile and say, now I understand why I had to wait. That is the magic of divine timing. It never arrives too early. It never comes too late. It always comes exactly when your soul is ready.